A big thank you to Steve Ricard for doing that. That really makes our program special. It really is a great job, Steve. We really appreciate it. And next, we're gonna have some music by our band director and Kennedy Stromberg. You know, my eyesight's really good around here, but the name of the song is Sea to Shining Sea by Wand Bader, arrangement by Chris Sharp, directed by Kimberly Stromberg. At least at this time, I'd like to take a moment of silence before we go to our next step. I missed that. For the MIA-POW, we have a flag here, and we have a chair here to recognize and remember those people that aren't here. All right, thank you. At this time, we'd like to have Madison Osterbauer do her reading for us. Usually we have a Boy Stater do this, but we've had trouble finding a Boy Stater, so we're very happy to have Madison Osterbauer do this.
Hello, my name is Madison Osterbauer, and I have two readings for you today. The first reading is titled Remember, and it is written by Brittany Bigerow. American soldiers sacrificed so much, all for the freedom of our country, leaving their families and heading off to war, not knowing what the future holds. working day and night, determined to stay strong, watching friends be killed every day, letters from home inspiring them to keep fighting. So little is given to them, although there is little to do. For those who have died in war, we can still remember. Remember all the men who have died, remember all the battles fought, remember all the tears families cried, remember it was freedom that the soldiers brought. To this very day, soldiers are underappreciated. Veterans Day is the day for the dead, living, and fighting soldiers to be remembered. My second reading for you is titled Veterans Day, and it was written by Taylor Weinman. Representing the red, white, and blue, the colors of our flag stand out proud and true. The white stars on blue background with red and white stripes remind me of the veterans who have all risked their lives. Just so the people of the U.S. could all live in peace and be free, these are the heroes that represent you and me. They stood up strongly, united as one, and kept up the fighting until they were done. And although some have fallen and lost their lives in war, we pray for each one of them, and now that their souls live on forevermore above in God's hands. They watch over our nation and give us the strength to triumph over others with strong anticipation. So every year when this day comes by, think of all the veterans that while fighting had to die with fire, and remember that they were people with fire and passion embedded inside. They died for this country, so remember and honor them with pride. Thank you.
Now we're going to have a reading by our Voice of Democracy winner, and her speech was based on showing patriotism and support for our country. Annabelle Detroit.
Patriotism isn't just displayed on the battlefield or in government buildings. It starts in the quiet, everyday moments that remind us why America is special. For me, patriotism comes alive in the classroom. Each morning when I walk through the doors of my public school, I remember that I'm entering one of the greatest freedoms our nation offers. The freedom to learn, to speak, and to be heard. That right was not easily won. Generations of Americans, soldiers, teachers, leaders, and everyday citizens fought to ensure that every child has the same opportunities. Some risked everything so that we could sit safely in classrooms, open our books, and shape our own futures. When I study, I honor them. When I raise my hand to share an idea, I exercise the same freedom of speech that they defended. When I listen to a classmate's opinion, even if it differs from my own, I practice the understanding and respect that keep a democracy strong. My classroom is more than just 4 walls and desks. It reflects the country built by those who came before us. A place where every voice matters and every dream has a chance. Education, to me, is one of the most powerful ways to show love for our country. Every lesson, every discussion, and every question I ask prepares me to become a more thoughtful and responsible citizen. It's my way of saying thank you to those who fought for the freedoms I enjoy. They gave me the right to learn. I show my gratitude by making that right count. But patriotism doesn't stop when the school day ends. It lives in the choices I make every day. When I help a classmate who's struggling, I'm lifting someone else up. When I volunteer, or when I show kindness to someone who feels alone, I'm strengthening the community that holds us all together. Patriotism isn't always loud or dramatic. Sometimes it's as simple as choosing empathy over anger, respect over judgment, and hope over fear. Patriotism doesn't require a uniform or serving in government, though we owe deep gratitude for those who do. It can also mean serving in smaller ways, by learning, by listening, by standing up for what's right, and by treating others with dignity. These actions, though quiet, are the heartbeat of a strong nation. To support our country means believing in its promise, even when it falls short of perfection. It means seeing both our strengths and our struggles and choosing to work towards something better. True patriotism is not blind loyalty. It is love with open eyes. It's the belief that every generation has the duty to move America closer to its ideals of liberty, equality, and justice for all. So, when someone asks me how I show patriotism and support for my country, My answer is simple. I learn because knowledge is the foundation of freedom. I speak because expression is a right worth protecting. I listen because democracy depends on understanding, and I serve by caring, growing, and preparing myself to make a difference. Every act of gratitude, courage, and compassion keeps the spirit of America alive. Thank you.
Great job, Annabelle. I think a few politicians could learn from that speech, too. Today, our guest speaker is Captain Robert Out, retired. He grew up in North Dakota. We won't hold that against him, I don't think, though. Jamestown, graduated from Jamestown High School in 1981. He earned a degree in nursing and from Detroit Lake State Community and Technical College, registered nursing degree from Moorhead State College, master's degree from Phoenix University. He worked over in Germany at the medical facility there in Landstuhl. I had an opportunity to fly a troop from Kuwait, and I flew on a plane, and it also had injured soldiers and KIA soldiers going from Afghanistan and Iraq. And, you know, it was quite a trip. And we landed next to the base, next to Landstuhl. And anybody that works in Germany at Landstuhl was doing us quite a service there for our soldiers and our troops. And as you can read here, it covers what else he did for most of his life in teaching, and he has a passion for that. Also, one of his daughters is in the military right now as a full-time soldier in the Minnesota National Guard, and so is her spouse. So there's a little lineage going on there too. But let's all welcome Robert Out, our speaker for today.
Thanks, Annabelle. That's very positive. All right, so I never really know how I'm going to start until I show up and see the audience, right? My daughter helped me out today. She said, you know, your audience is going to be happy because they're getting out of class, right? So, not that she said, I used to go to this sort of thing. And that was all good. And she wasn't saying that class was bad, but just that it was different, right? Like something different to do. So, it's good to be here. Nice to be in a new auditorium. Oh, can you hear me? Thank you very much. I'm getting coached from the audience, so that's a good thing. Family support is always important to every service member. So, so I have 4 points today. First, what is Veterans Day, right? My daughter's like, yeah, I still get confused on that, right? What is Veterans Day? And 2, I have a question for the audience. And then, of course, recognition of the service members that are here today, the veterans, right? And then also recognize the strength of our community, right? So first of all, what is Veterans Day, right? So as opposed to Memorial Day is kind of in its name, right? It's a memorial recognizing those that have fallen, right? And it was established first, right? And it's in a, kind of the beginning of the year, like in May, all right? May, all right. So, and then Veterans Day was established later, and it's later in the year, right? Kind of now. So with that, it started out as Armistice Day, and I kind of like the name of that, right? And that was when the French and the Germans, after World War I, signed the armistice to end all hostilities, right? That's bigger than a ceasefire, right? We could use that for confrontations today, right? Between two people, between groups of people, or between nations, right? End all hostilities. Don't be hostile, right? Don't say mean things to each other. Like, forget the hate, just stop being hostile, right? So we could use that today. Another cool thing about Armistice Day is it's signed in a railroad car. And I thought, that's kind of weird, right? But after World War I, traveling by railroad car was probably rather prestigious, right? So they signed it, right? And when did they sign it? On the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, right? So someone in the audience do that math for me. The 11th month is, good job, yeah, and the 11th day is, yeah, today, right? So we're here for Veterans Day. All right, so with that, I have a question for the audience, but actually specifically to a group of people in the audience, to the young men in the audience. I see a few of you guys up there, right? So I'll ask for an answer in a moment, but first of all, I'm going to apologize because this question can be a little harsh. I don't know everyone's background, right? And the answer can even be just even a little bit harsher, right? So for the young men, but as a former commander and an ICU nurse, right, and a dad, if I didn't ask this question right now and take this opportunity, I'd be amiss. So here's the question to the young gentleman. If you give me an answer, and you can give me a variety of answers. So when are my troops most at risk, right? When are airmen, sailors, Marines, and what did I miss, soldiers, right? All right, so when are they most at risk? Any answers? You have to talk loudly because I have the microphone. Answers? They're conferring amongst themselves, which is good. Oh, wait. Someone's coming up with one. When do you think they're most at risk? Enemy territory, yes. And I thought we might get that kind of answer or something on that, and that's what we've been kind of led to believe, especially from the news. The weird thing is they're most at risk at the same time that you're most at risk, right? They're most at risk when I send them home, right? When we release them, that's when they're most at risk. And the biggest thing endangers 20-year-old and teen men in our U.S. is driving, and if you mix alcohol, that's not a good thing. So I'm not gonna expound on what not to do, but as a commander, I decide when they drive and what they drive, and I decide when they drink, and I don't mix the two, right? So with that, but I'd rather tell you what to do. So make a plan, right? Plan ahead, right? And then find someone to talk to, right? And it's kind of a weird thing. Do you guys do this? You can knock on someone's door and say, hey, I want to talk to you, right? And people are like, oh yeah, it works really great. Our generation did that a lot, anyway. Just knocked on someone's door. So you can do that, and you have to do it purposely. So find someone just a little bit older than you are, and someone you can trust, and ask them questions, right? I know this 90-year-old guy is a friend of mine, right? He's wise beyond his years. And sometimes I just ask him questions just to get the answer. And he said, Robert, you have enough money, but you don't have much time, right? So pretty profound. You don't have much time, so take today to find that person that you can talk to, right? And make plans for success, all right? So moving on, one of those people you could talk to is probably a veteran, right? So do we have any veterans in today? Hands, if you're courage enough to raise your hands. I got a few here, back there. Yeah, I knew you. All right, cool. And so we have a fair amount of veterans, right? And at the risk of sounding cliche, thank you for your service, right? But also thank you for supporting your community right now. Just by being here, you show that you're supporting your community, right? So, and I see this often with veterans, and I see it with service organizations, regularly supporting their community. So if you are a veteran, and here's a commercial, but if you want to join the Legion or the VFW, I would encourage you to do so, right? So veterans, thank you for your service. And then lastly, when I was a young soldier, the thing they taught me was the best defense is a strong community. And that struck me as a little odd. They didn't claim for themselves. They didn't say the Army is the best defense. They didn't say big guns or weapons or barriers is the best defense. They said the best defense to anything is a strong community. So the best defense against poverty, hunger, illness, shared community, right, is a strong community. So, and just kind of rehashing what we covered, don't drink and drive. Use now to find someone to talk to, right? Plan ahead, right? And veterans, although you may not put your uniform on every day, thank you for continuing to support your local community. And if you have never put on a military uniform, but you have the heart of a veteran, thank you for helping your community. And I think we can all be thankful for living in a strong community. Thank you.
next we're gonna have singing by the concert choir, America the Beautiful, arranged by Joyce Eilers, directed by Andrew Mason. At this time, I'd like everyone to rise for the retirement of the colors.
Thank you, everybody. Would you be seated for just a few minutes? I'd like to say a chance to thank students and Andrew for the work done in the booth, for helping keep the Veterans Video started, which was started years ago by our media specialist, Diane Cruzy. And then technology was that it was actually outdated, and so Mr. Duncan painstakingly recreated it as, and I know we might have inadvertently lost a few photos along the way, so if you didn't see your loved one up there, would you please get a hold of me at the school, email or just call, or find me on the street. I'll be painting somewhere. Thank you to the band and choir. Thank you to the students for being so receptive. In my class today, I put out a challenge: find somebody who served in your family. And a few years ago, Mrs. Schwartz and I were team teaching U.S. history class, and she came up with a great idea to interview a veteran. And she no longer teaches the same subject, the history class that I do, but I still use it, and I'm so thankful that she started it and continue it, and it's coming up with Thanksgiving and a chance to find somebody who served and pick their brain and learn so much, and you will be very, very lucky to ever get a veteran to actually talk about what they went through, because there's some things that are tough. And so I encourage all of you, even at the conclusion today, if you see Grandma and Grandpa in the audience, if you see somebody that you know lives down the street here or after school, introduce yourself and say thank you for serving. It goes a long way. At Alma Mays, I think I get that right, they're having their first annual Veterans Day coffee and cake from 1 to 4 at their location, and it's run by Christina Narrigan. And Christina Narrigan was actually a sophomore here my first year. She's a 1996 graduate, and she has a son, Jacob Narrigan, who is currently serving in Korea, and calling it the first annual, hopefully one of many more, so stop in. You are more than welcome. We will have one more selection, God Bless the USA, directed by Kennedy Stromberg, and one more chance. Students and staff, let's give all our veterans here present a round of applause. Thank you. the students return to period 7, the public is welcome to the cafeteria for refreshments. Thank you so much for attending. Have a great day.